What's up, everybody? Today I'm about to go shopping for the party on Saturday. Let's go.
Scott went missing on October 4th after she showed up for her overnight shift at a nursing home in Chestnut Hill. Keon King has since been charged with kidnapping her, and police fear the 21-year-old could have other victims.
And unfortunately, the remains that law enforcement found behind Ada Lewis Middle School over the weekend, it has been confirmed that that is the remains of 23-year-old Kada Scott.
I called him. I told him that Kada was missing. He said, "What?" It went silent, and then the phone hung up. Now, people are saying that I should have went to the cops and that I was protecting Keon, which is not true. You guys have to keep in mind that this was my actual friend. I had no thoughts whatsoever that he could have been capable of anything like this.
It was an anonymous tip that came in through our tip line, as we have been asking for. But it was very specific as to detailing us and directing us to a specific location in the wooded area, going back to your question, a very specific location that narrowed it down. Don't know who the tip is from, but grateful that the individual submitted the tip that brought us back here to this location this morning.
I want the city of Philadelphia to hold everybody accountable who is connected to Kada Scott going missing. I refuse to hear that they have Keon King in custody and that he's going to be the only person facing charges.
Now, there was also another active search happening behind the school today. Law enforcement sources tell me additional remains were recovered today, and as they are testing that evidence, police held the scene.
On October the 18th, 2025, Kada Scott's father would make his last post on social media in an effort to find his 23-year-old daughter. For 14 days, her family has searched for answers. And on this day, although they were holding out hope to find her safe, they would receive news they did not want. Now, the search for Kada started after she vanished from work. On October the 4th, 2025, Kada went on a date and rushed home because she had to be at work. Now, as far as who she was on a date with, that has not been revealed by authorities. But she had just started a job within the last couple of weeks at a nursing home to help pay for college. So after her date, she rushed home to get dressed for work. Now, investigators say Kada Scott showed up to work the overnight shift at the senior living facility around 10 p.m. When she arrived at work, she clocked in like she normally would, but within 20 to 30 minutes, she walked out straight to the man who would take her life. Now, authorities later revealed that for reasons investigators have not disclosed, Kada left her job shortly after arriving. What the investigation would go on to uncover is that Kada had been in communication with 21-year-old Keon King that evening. And although Keon followed one of Kada's social media accounts, what news sources would say authorities revealed to them is that Kada and Keon only came in contact with each other days before the night she left work. Now, when Kada stepped away from her job that evening, what she may not have known was that Keon may have thought he had come up with a sophisticated plan that would ultimately end with Kada losing her life. Now, according to investigators, when Kada left her job at the nursing facility, there were no cameras on the property to capture what happened next. Instead, investigators turned to technology, which in this case became their silent witnesses. Kada's cell phone, her Apple Watch, and digital data to retrace her final movements was used. Now, through that technology, they were able to confirm that Keon King was the last person known to be in contact with her. Now, see, the day before Kada would leave work on October the 4th, Keon had stolen a vehicle. And according to the district attorney's office, when he came to Kada's workplace, he arrived in that stolen car. Now, while investigators will not say exactly how Kada ended up in that vehicle, and there were no cameras outside of the outside of her workplace, they have made it clear that they do not believe she left willingly. The district attorney stated, "We have every reason to believe at this point she did not go willingly. She was about 20 or 30 minutes into her shift. From all of the witnesses, her family that we've spoken to, this is unusual behavior for her." So despite the 14 days her family spent searching for her, it would end up being a recovery effort because police sources would tell the news that Keon had taken Kada's life within just 30 minutes of her leaving work. Now, it does appear that Keon's social media account has been either deleted or deactivated because it's currently not available. But before his account was deleted or deactivated today, there were some friends that reacted on his social media to the news of him being arrested. And what one of his friends stated was, one of his alleged friends stated was, "Disappointed in you, bro." Someone responded to this and said, "I so respect this. Hold your ex-homie accountable. Disappointed is the word." And then others of his alleged friends who was following his account at the time said, "Unfollowed him. I unfollow him." And then someone replied to the friend that said that they were disappointed, and they said, "Don't be disappointed because y'all saw the signs that he was a weirdo way before this happened, and his family did too. And then in response to that comment, the friend replied and said, "I never knew Keon was like that, first off, and you don't know me to say something like that." Of course, Kada friends have also reacted with posting messages and videos. There was a young man who posted a video of him and Kada, and he also made a post. And in the post, what he said was, "Please pardon the lyrics as I did not listen to this song play out. I should have been your protector forever through all endeavors. I feel I let us down by not keeping us together through the stormy weather. We both dealt our cards and played the game. Still God's plan. Man, we should never question. It's divine love forever, Queen. The truth will reveal in the light." And then he did put Kada Scott, Princess, and he tagged her page and he uploaded this video. Now, of course, when detectives, the police, they made the discovery of Kada remains at the abandoned school, they had previously went there, and unfortunately the first time they did not find it. Authorities said that they received a tip, and this tip was very detailed and told them to go back and to please search this area. So there were family members and others who were outside when Kada, unfortunately, when she was found, when her remains were found, and they reacted. So I'm going to play a clip first related to their speculation online that Keon's father may be in law enforcement. That has not been confirmed, but that is going around, and that's speculation at this point. And then we'll move into the discovery, and then we'll get into the press conference. So listen to this.
Just know that this community won't just gather here just today for Kada Scott. And so thank you for letting us gather. Thank you. That's all I have to
I fucking fell that young lady, bro. He was in interrogation room. He was in y'all custody. He was in all of that, and y'all knew. He knew where she was at. But why did they protect her? Why did they protect that man? Who was protecting him? Was it his father, the lead homicide detective that ain't want to put the BTA and put the pressure on his son? Hey, where that girl at, fam? Where she at? Get her. And now you still got your younger, you still got your baby. But that lady ain't got her baby no more, bro. That lady ain't got her baby no more. That was wrong, man. Y'all failed her. Y'all failed her. Y'all failed us.
Second floor, we knocked that window down. First floor, cut the locks off.
Neighbors and volunteers say they searched this exact area last night for hours. They tell NBC 10 they found what looked like fresh dirt and feel police could have found the body sooner. Some screamed and yelled at investigators for a while tonight.
Sign number one, fresh dirt under a board. So we began to try to dig with our hands.
Yes, we did.
I seen maggots under and in the ground. There also was a strange smell coming from the ground.
Right,
After 14 days, investigators are closer to answers. They aren't giving much detail, only saying they found a shallow grave. Sources say it looks like the body has been there for a week or less. Emotions were high tonight, as the case is now in the hands of the medical
Earlier
examiner.
in the week, doing a little bit of a search. And so based on the investigative information, based on the investigation and what they were following up on that tip today, led us back to this area behind the school, where it's a wooded area. I don't know if any of you have been back there, but it's a wooded area that goes beyond the school. And so we begin to go back into that area where we will locate a shallow grave after being able to remove some of the debris back there, able to locate the body of a human being. All indications at this point is that it's a female. We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott, because that has to be done by the medical examiner's office. But we have been in communication with her family as to this process and the fact that we have recovered a human being. And so at this point, there's still a lot of work to be done. I'll be very candid that we can't answer but so many questions. I'm not going to get into the investigation at this point, because we want to make sure that all of the pieces to this are done correctly and that we don't put out information ahead of time, because we want the people and the person that we have in custody and anybody else that may be involved in this, we want them held accountable to the highest degree of the law for what they have done. And so I just want that to be clear as to why we will not get into specific details. And so that's where we're at this point. Still a lot of work, but I must say a lot of work has been done around this case. As you know, we've been searching, have done multiple searches. We shut down the police academy. That was a decision made by myself and Commissioner Bethel to shut down the police academy over a week ago, where we brought out the entire group of recruits to comb through this area. Again, so I know, listen, no one is happy that this is the ending, and completely understand that this is a lot on our investigators, a lot on all of us, because again, we all have family members, and this could have been any one of our family members, it could be anybody's family member, and that's understood, and that's the reason that you see the tireless work that's been done by starting with Northwest Detectives, then by homicide, by our partners to the FBI, through our forensics office, through any and everybody that has been a part of this process, because we wanted to bring some level of closure to this family. And so, again, we're going to wait until we have official confirmation on, as the medical examiner is going to do their process, and then we will bring that confirmation. But that's where we are right now. Again, I can't reiterate enough how much we appreciate tips and information that are coming from the public. I still will urge the public that if you have any information, anything that you think is related to this, continue to give us that information via 215-686-TIPS. Still continue to give us that information, because again, we don't know if there are other individuals that have been a victim of this individual that we have in custody. And so I just want that to be clear, that please continue to provide that information if you have anything. But that's where we are at this point. I would also ask you to continue to pray for Ms. Scott's family.
What's the process of getting that official confirmation on whether it's her or not?
Well, at this point now, we're on the medical examiner's timeline. And so they will, the body will be recovered and transported to the medical examiner's office, and then they will go through their process methodically to ensure that, again, everything is done right. There is a court case that has to come behind this, and that's what I just want to be clear. I know sometimes it seems like the information is not coming fast enough, but we have a job to Ms. Scott. We have a job to her family. Again, if this is confirmed that this is her, to ensure that we are doing everything in the proper way to make sure that the individuals are held accountable. And so we don't want to do anything to compromise that. And so that's why we will be on their timeline. Once we get confirmation, then we will give that to you all and be able to move forward with that process.
This area was combed earlier this week. I'm wondering why it's taking until now for the remains to be found.
Have you ever been in the woods of any location?
I'm from Appalachia.
Okay, and so then you can understand that it's not an easy process. And when you know that you're looking for something, but don't know where someone hid it, it's not that easy of a process. And so we were here, we were on the other side. We had plans to do some additional searches as the weekend concluded, and as well as going into next week. And so the area where we were back here. And our dogs were back here, officers were back here. Again, there is a lot of wooded area. And so we're grateful today that we're here. Make no mistake about it, if we had located the body yesterday, this in terms of this discovery would not, this person has been deceased for a few days, and so for some time. I'm not going to say how many days, but this didn't just happen yesterday. And so we did a lot of work, and again, I'm proud of the men and women in this organization that have been doing the work to try to locate Ms. Scott. And again, in our minds, we know this was a possible reality, and here we are.
Does the timeline match up in terms of when she went missing and how long it looks like that grave has been around?
I am not going to get into any of the investigative process because I don't want to mess up this case, and I don't want anyone picking apart what we say and trying to create a defense. I want to make sure that we do our jobs in the most diligent way. We give the district attorney's office an opportunity to do their job in the most diligent way, and that we get a prosecution on this incident here. And so I'm not going to get into any parts of the investigation, not out of disrespect, but just simply because I want to make sure that the person we have in custody and anybody else that was involved in this, that they are held accountable the way that they should be. And so that's why I'm not getting into the specifics of the case.
The specific tip that came in, could you get into more detail about what was specific about it? Is it in location, and was it from a community member? I
won't get into the specifics. This is an anonymous tip that came in through our tip line, as we have been asking for. But it was very specific as to detailing us and directing us to a specific location in the wooded area, going back to your question, a very specific location that narrowed it down. Don't know who the tip is from. But grateful that the individual submitted the tip that brought us back here to this location this morning.
Just this last question. Forget the cursing and the yelling at you guys. It just shows that there's passion behind this. What do you want to say about the passion of the community? They were out here, as you know, last night searching as well. Just your thoughts on just the community's involvement in this case.
Listen, I am not offended by the passion that some of the remarks that have been made as we were walking back. I'm not offended at all, because that's people's emotion, and this is an emotional situation, and so it's to be understood. However, I know what we have done, and the amount of hours that have been put into this process of trying to locate Ms. Scott. I know the work that has been done to bring the individual in the custody that we have in custody, and I know the work that these investigators will continue to do to ensure that we wrap this case up and that we do everything to hold the people accountable in the proper way. And so listen, we can't be upset at that. I mean, that's emotion. If that was my family member, or if I was someone I knew, I would have the same level of emotion. And listen, to be quite frank about it, the reason I go through the steps of what we have done is because not every community member, they don't know that we shut down the police academy to bring 300 recruits up here to go searching through an area. They don't know that. They don't know that we had teams of dogs from New Jersey State Police come into Philadelphia to help us in the search process. They don't know that. And so it's my job to make sure that I express that, so that they know that this police department, we took this case serious. We take every case serious, but the work that's been done to again, bring this to some conclusion. Is this the conclusion that we wanted? Absolutely not. But at this point now, we have to do everything in our power to ensure that we bring justice for this family and some level of closure. And so To answer that, no. It's understandable. Listen, that passion you need, because that's also the passion that helps you drive in the tips. That's the passion that gets you to have the support from the community and getting the information out.
There was another young man. He made a post and he shared videos of him and Kada. If you haven't checked out my previous coverage, please check that out, because he made some other posts that I talked about. But he has made a subsequent post, and what it stated was, "My favorite incomplete wish. Even if I'm not yours, you'll always be my favorite incomplete wish. You know, the one I still think about on quiet nights, the one I secretly imagine a what if with, even though I know it'll never happen. You were my almost, my could have been, my what I wanted, but never got to keep. And maybe that's why you'll always stay with me." And then he uploaded videos and different pictures of him and Kada together. Again, her family has not publicly confirmed if she was in a relationship. The only thing that has been confirmed, and if you haven't checked out my previous video, again, it is there where it was stated that Kada went out on a date. As far as who that young man was, if it was him, if it was someone else, that has not publicly been confirmed by a credible source like her, family or authorities. But moving forward, there was the bail commissioner. He's a public figure, so I'm not showing anything that shouldn't be shown. He's also the Philly GOP leader. He spoke out on comments that were made by the district attorney. So what the district attorney had previously stated was that in regards to why Keon King was released on bail, he had made some remarks about, you don't necessarily want to wake the judge up in the middle of the night, because sometimes if you do that, that would cause them to lower the bond. And the media immediately sought clarification, and he wouldn't necessarily elaborate. And he said there have been times that that's happened. Again, that was in the previous press conference. So if you haven't checked that out, that's on my page. Now, in response to those remarks that was made by the district attorney, this is what he stated. "I can now say with complete confidence that the $200,000 bail that was placed on Keon King for the kidnapping of the other female was set by the judge at 3:37 p.m. in the afternoon in court. Both the prosecution and the defense are absolutely entitled to an instant appeal of a bail, and neither of them called for an appeal of that bail. There was no waking up of any emergency judge at 3:37 p.m. in the afternoon. There should be a huge blowback coming from the leadership of the municipal court very soon." So now we'll go ahead and get into the press conference. And before I do that, I'll play a short clip related to Kada Scott. She did her last interview. I previously posted that, but this was a clip of what she said about her parents. So I'm going to play this and we'll move into the press conference. Listen to this.
Or like a close friend or anybody around you, like who you like kind of like getting inspiration from to do what you do?
Yeah, so okay, growing up, my favorite artist was Rihanna. She still is.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the proof in the pudding, you know what I mean? Like now she's a billionaire, she does different things, and I feel like she is a major statement in the fashion industry.
Absolutely.
And I just always gravitated towards her projects as well, because for example, like if you're a painting artist, you or even a fashion designer, we do collections.
Yeah.
So we can relate to music artists as well, how they make projects. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So I feel like Rihanna is somebody who I really gravitated towards as far as understanding her fashion, her art, her storytelling, her songs. And she's just very humble, and I really like the way she carries herself. So that's why I gravitate towards her. And as far as family, definitely my parents. Like they never so it's only me and my little sister, but my parents make sure we never went out the house looking a mess. Like if we did, nope, go back in the house, nope. So
Mom
they
thing.
don't play. Yep, they don't play.
Mama did say playing that, you know what I'm saying?
I want the city of Philadelphia to hold everybody accountable who is connected to Kada Scott going missing. I refuse to hear that they have Keon King in custody and that he's going to be the only person facing charges. There are other people who helped and assisted Keon King in the abduction and disappearance of Kada Scott. Those individuals need to be charged as accomplices, and I need the city of Philadelphia and the FBI to figure out who those individuals are. The moment that you gave up personal information about Kada Scott's whereabouts and personal information, and you assured Keon that you were not going to talk to the police, that made you an accomplice right then and there. The moment that you knew that he had kidnapped Kada and did not go and speak to the police and said, I'm not going to put myself into this, and started laughing about the situation, you are an accomplice. This timeline is pissing me off. Kada went missing October 4th. She was reported missing on the 5th. Police did not go checking locations until October 9th. That is way too long to wait and go looking for a missing person. That means you gave time to the people who abducted Kada to come up with a plan of attack for how they were going to go about moving forward. And the way that we know that there are other people involved who are not in a prison cell right now is the fact that they said today that it was a fresh grave. You mean you checked this location before and you did not see a fresh grave? I wonder why. The reason being is because somebody just put a fresh grave. But obviously we have to wait for the medical examiner's office to identify if that is Kada's body. But obviously, more likely than not, we know what the likelihood is going to be here, especially knowing that Kada's phone case and her card was found in that same location. Let's be serious and let's be for real. You weren't just in this area, in this facility, looking and didn't see nothing, especially if you closed down the police academy and had all of your recruits checking and looking for her. Somebody would have saw it. I'm not going to sit here and rant, but we need to put pressure on Philadelphia Police Department and the FBI to figure out who were those individuals that helped and assisted with the disappearance/abduction of Kada Scott. And we need to put pressure on the district's attorney's office to prosecute these individuals to the highest degree. We need the city of Philadelphia to make examples out of these individuals, because this is not something that can continue happening. And what sucks is that there's so many people in the city of Philadelphia that go missing every day and they don't receive this type of attention and they don't get highlighted and nobody looks for them. I am, however, grateful and appreciative that, social media did their thing. People went outside and actually went looking for Kada, and that people did call in tips. But this stops here, and the city of Philadelphia needs to make an example out of people that are engaging in this type of behavior, because it is sickening, it is disgusting, and it is literally just evil.
Okay. What's up, y'all? So I'm gonna go with this red Ed Hardy top and black Ed Hardy top, along with this Ed Hardy skirt.
Scott, we kindly ask for space and privacy at this time as we process the heartbreaking events of the past few weeks. Our hearts are shattered, yet we are deeply grateful for the outpouring of love, support, and prayers from people across the nation and around the world. Please continue to keep us in prayer as we navigate this unimaginable loss. Our hearts are broken beyond measure. We are profoundly thankful to every person who shared Kada's story, joined the search efforts, prayed with us, and stood by our family during this devastating time. Your compassion, love, and strength have carried us when we could not carry ourselves. Kada was deeply loved. Her light, kindness, and beautiful spirit will forever remain in our hearts. We also wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mayor Sherelle Parker, the Philadelphia Police Department, all first responders, local volunteers, community organizations, and media outlets, as well as everyone who worked tirelessly to help find our daughter. Although the outcome is one no parent should ever have to face, we remain thankful for the unity, leadership, and love that surrounded us through it all. As we continue to grieve, our family now seeks justice for Kada. We place our full trust in the Philadelphia Police Department and the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office to ensure that the truth is revealed and that those responsible are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. With love, strength, and gratitude, the family of Kada Scott.
Thank you, Tanya Leonard. Ashley Teslowski will be, at this time, lead counsel in the prosecution of Keon King and has been working tirelessly on every aspect of the case, including obtaining a warrant that contains additional charges. Those charges include arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, receiving stolen property, reckless endangerment of another person, tampering with evidence. We are not done, but this is a significant development in the prosecution itself, and obviously there have been other developments already reported over the weekend in the case. It is my pleasure to call forward Ashley Teslowski, who does about as good a job as anyone I've ever seen.
Thank you. As of last night, our office approved charges, as the DA just said, of arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, tampering with evidence, recklessly endangering another person, and receipt of stolen property. Those charges are in reference to the burning of a vehicle. That vehicle is a 2008 black Hyundai Accent. That vehicle first entered our radar last week. Investigators received a tip that there was a vehicle burning and that that vehicle had some connection to this case. At the time last week, when investigators went to the location where the vehicle was burned, that vehicle was no longer there. It had already been towed, compacted, and was in a junkyard. This weekend, we recovered additional evidence, including video evidence that confirms that this vehicle, we believe, is the vehicle that Mr. Keon King used to move Ms. Scott. We recovered video out from near the Ada Lewis Middle School, where our search and the investigator search has been focused. There's a rec center directly next to that school. Video evidence was recovered from that rec center, and we are now able to say that this Hyundai Accent was on location at all of the times we're looking at all of the pertinent points in the investigation. That vehicle was stolen on October 3rd from the area of 6600 Sprague Street. We believe that vehicle is the vehicle that was used in this case. That vehicle was then on scene at that rec center, which ultimately, as we all know, is where we found Ms. Scott's human remains. Video evidence indicates it was on location. Video evidence then indicates it leaves the location. It is burned on October 7th. It was located at the 2300 block of 74th Avenue. When this new video evidence was uncovered this weekend, investigators from the homicide unit cross-referenced all of this information with the cell phone evidence that we had already gained and we had already been using in terms of the kidnapping case and other charges. What I can share is that the cell phone evidence, the call detail records, and timing advance data as it pertains to Keon King's mobile device puts him at all of the locations that we're talking about. It's on scene when the Hyundai Accent is there at the recreation center. It is on scene when the vehicle is burned. Based on that, last night I approved those charges. And as the DA said, we should have more information in terms of bail and a preliminary hearing date. Hopefully this afternoon or certainly by tomorrow.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate those details. Just a reminder to those in the public who have been so helpful, I think you just heard Ashley Teslowski talking about the fact that this burning automobile was connected to this case in part due to a tip from the public. I'm not kidding when I say that the public has played an enormous role here. I would ask residents of Philadelphia to continue reaching out with tips and information to seek justice for the family of Kada Scott and to allow us to have all the facts so we can justly and vigorously prosecute defendant Keon King and any other people who may have been involved with his activity. Philadelphia Police Department can accept this information at 215-686-TIPS. In other words, 215-686-TIPS. You could also call the DA's office at 215-686-8000, and we will make sure that your information is considered as an aspect of this investigation. Both in terms of investigation and prosecution, there are things that we know today that we cannot tell you. And we cannot tell you for a variety of reasons: the integrity of the investigation, safety, the trauma that the family is dealing with is not best handled by their finding things out for the first time in the media. So we will try to be as transparent and open as we can, consistent with those obligations and consistent with the purpose of this press conference. To the extent that you can confine them to the topics we are addressing today, please understand this is an ever-evolving, developing situation, both in terms of investigation and prosecution. There are things that we know today that we cannot tell you. And we cannot tell you for a variety of reasons: the integrity of the investigation, safety, the trauma that the family is dealing with is not best handled by their finding things out for the first time in the media. So we will try to be as transparent and open as we can, consistent with those obligations.
Back to Ada Lewis. Secondly, how does she really meet Keon King, if you know? And then third, have there been any conversations about how King is out again after multiple, are you retraining people in your staff?
All right, so that's three questions. Let me address the third one. We are always trying to do better. We have already acknowledged, and I'll acknowledge again, we could have done better with respect to one or more of the decisions that were made in a case that was otherwise handled well. And we are looking at a variety of different options that I think are appropriate for the lessons that we have learned in this case. As for your other two questions, I'm going to ask Ashley Tizlowski to come forward to answer them for you.
So in terms of your first question about the tip, what I can share is that obviously initially we received a tip to go to a meeting last week. We received a tip to go to the Ada Lewis Middle School. Investigators went, did a thorough search. Essentially what the new tip was this weekend was go back. It was go back, she's there, look again, and they did give more specific details in terms of where to look. And ultimately that is what led us to her. I'm not going to say how. Obviously, we are investigating the tip, and we'll continue to do that. But the tip was more specific than the first. It was very specific to go back, and it was more specific in terms of where to look, and that is what the police did. And I'm sorry, your second question was? I'm still not going to comment on that. It's something that is actively being investigated. Obviously, they knew each other to some extent. We believe in terms of maybe there was some cell phone communication, obviously. But other than that, I'm not going to comment in terms of how they know each other. That's something that's still, or where they met or how long they knew each other, because that is something that's still being investigated.
Channel 6 ABC, Tarhonda Thomas. Did I pronounce? My apologies. You're Channel 3 CBS as well. Yes, sir. Of course, yeah.
Two follow-up questions. You mentioned lessons learned. I wonder if you could give specifics of those lessons that your office has learned from this. And my second question is, this tipster have any relationship?
All right. So we're now getting into 5 questions from one station, but let me see what I can do for you. All right. I'm not going to get into all of the specifics, other than to say that we have already discussed in this office the value that we have seen for certain kinds of cases in specialization. It's something that we have done before in changing the way things have been done literally for decades in this office. I'll leave my comment on that point there. Your second question again, sir?
The tipster, are they related to Keon King?
When you say the tipster, you're speaking of the tipster for the... I think I know what the answer is going to be, but let me check with Ashley Teslowski. Well, that answer is a little different than I expected. The answer is we don't know, and we are investigating it at this time. All right. Taronda, I apologize for mispronouncing. So as for your first question, it has been confirmed that these are the human remains of Kada Scott, and that has been confirmed by DNA. I believe that's also been reported. There was some erroneous reporting that it was quick DNA. It was actually not quick DNA. It was the regular DNA. So that is resolved. And I'm sorry, your second question?
That was on video. Was that something that was there and not able to be used?
So Ms. Thomas, this is something we addressed previously. I'll go over it again in summary form. But this is a situation in which there were actually two witnesses. There was a complainant. There was an eyewitness. There were good efforts to have the case prepared, to contact them, to speak to them. There were good efforts to subpoena them. Nothing is perfect in this life, but that was all handled well. The case was marked must be tried by a judge at the first listing when these witnesses did not appear. Neither one of them appeared for either one of these two listings. That is a judicial decision. It is not our decision.
Nobody else stepped forward so far. Other victims or anything like that.
I'm not going to comment on that at this time.
My second question is kind of more of the timeline. So just in my head, there's a lot of information. October 3rd, the car is stolen. We believe Mr. King stole that car, and then obviously she disappears October 4th. Then October 7th, the car is found burned and I guess towed away. At the rec center, is the car after it's stolen or October 4th, is that the car that's used? We believe that Kada is in with Mr. King and they're at the rec center. When are they at the rec center? In between that October 3rd, when the car is stolen, and October 7th, when the car is found burned and destroyed.
Well, I think you raise a very good point that the timeline is a little bit complex and confusing. And especially if you're talking about more than one car being used in more than one place, it's probably helpful to go through that timeline. So I'm going to ask Ashley Teslowski to come forward. And even though, we've been talking about this so quickly that we sometimes don't slow down to identify exactly what place, exactly what car, I'm going to ask Ashley as best as she can to explain this as if she were explaining to people who didn't know anything about it.
Thank you.
So in terms of the timeline, you pretty much got it accurate, meaning the car was stolen on October 3rd. Obviously, Ms. Scott goes missing the next day. That vehicle then, we believe, immediately goes to the rec center. We believe it remains there for about a day and a half until it then leaves and the car is burned. In terms of what the video showed or what we know about what happened there, I'm not going to comment on. I think there will be an appropriate time for those details to come out, and that appropriate time would be at the preliminary hearing when all of the evidence is presented. But in terms of a timeline, you had it right. October 3rd, the vehicle goes missing. October 4th, she goes missing. We then pick up the vehicle at that location where it remains for about a day and a half. It then leaves and is burned the next day on October 7th.
Do you believe Mr. King stole that car? Did somebody else steal that car? Are you happy to just be in it?
I don't want to comment about what I believe happened. All I can say at this point is what the evidence that we have, and what I can say is the evidence that we have is that Mr. King's phone is on location when that vehicle is at the rec center, and it's on location when the car is burned. That is what we know right now.
Was it on location when it was stolen?
We have it in the area, but we do not have it on location. That's not to say he wasn't there. All we can do is look at the cell phone evidence that we have in terms of when calls are being made and when data can be plotted, if that makes sense.
All right, let me see. Channel 17, John Leonard. Do you have any questions, sir? Thank you. 29 Fox, Kelly Rule.
I think actually someone answered this, but the video evidence from the rec center, are you able to say if that shows anybody working with King? Or can you comment on additional suspects?
Well, let me just note this, and then once again I'll bring Ashley up. But you may have noticed that we're charging conspiracy with reference to the arson. Now that's a separate place and time, but we don't bring charges unless we have probable cause. Let me now ask Ashley to come forward.
My answer is essentially going to be the same thing, right? I mean, obviously we did charge conspiracy, so at this point we do have reason to believe that other people may have been involved after the fact, but in terms of who those people are and the level of their involvement, I'm not going to comment at this time, as it's very much still being investigated.
And you mentioned that the car was towed and impounded. Is it believed that King had anything to do with that, or that was just the community making calls saying like if this car happened?
There was a 911 call that a vehicle was on fire. So police did respond to it. The fire department responded to it, ruled it an arson, and then at that point, when they were finished with their investigation, the car was demolished. It was burned. So it was taken and towed and compacted and yeah.
Demolished before they could pull evidence from the car.
Yes. Well, and I'll say when we got there, it was completely compacted, right? What the tow company had already done or what the junkyard had done had already been done. With that being said, the car had been completely burned. And in terms of being able to tell what happened, the fire department was able to say it was an arson, and we're also able to have video to kind of piece things together. So there's no question about what happened. We were able to determine that.
Thank you. All right, let me see. Kristen Johansson, KYW.
Two questions. One's for Ashley. How does the car play in the gold Camry play in then to this whole? Because we're going to have to say something about the gold car.
Yes, so what I can say at this time is that at the point where the Hyundai Accent is on scene, on video at the rec center leading up to all of the events we're talking about, the other car, the Toyota, is there as well, and we believe the people in these vehicles are working together.
And then the other thing is how much, as far as volumes, how much surveillance video is it? Because I know there was a lot of verifications. Yeah. So how much, it's hard probably to quantify, but.
We have extensive amounts of video information at this point, and it's still being retrieved as we speak, and I expect there will be more. It is a lot of video. What I can say is that initially when the video was recovered, they were reviewing it kind of in real time as it was being recovered, and that's the information I'm basing this all off of today. There will be more, and there is more, and their detectives will continue to go through all of the video. It's a lot of video.
And then for District Attorney Larry Kreiser, there's obviously been a lot of criticism of your office and how your office handled this case, but also additionally how bail was handled in general. What can you do to ensure, or I guess ensure the proof to the public, or there's probably a better word there, ensure the public that there's not another Kada Scott that's going to come out, that there's not going to be another kind of case like this where a case is withdrawn, it's violence against women, case withdrawn, bail was not, appealed immediately. It seems that you're putting the blame on the judges for that. How can you ensure that there's not going to be another Kada Scott?
Well, actually, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't putting the blame on the judges. I think I was pretty clear that I was blaming the existence of cash bail. And systemically, we all have to try to do better. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should stop making money off of bail, and they should go to a system that is much more effective, one where truly dangerous people remain in custody, and that has worked for more than 3 decades in D.C., and that is about 12% of defendants. And where the rest of those defendants are not required to pay money because, for the most part, they face much less serious charges, and the only reason they're in jail is because they're broke. The bail system is broke. That should be fixed. That was not a criticism of individual judges. That was a criticism of that system. What I can tell you is that the buck stops here. We recognize that there are some things that could have been done better in this case. From the moment this occurred, we have been looking at ways that we can improve our systems, because we have to be open to systemic change as well, and we will have further announcements about that in the future.
So have you done any policy reviews or looked at anything?
We are,
anything specific that you can tell the public about that?
we are actively looking at ways that we can do better. It is, you know, it's everybody's view of this is always clear when you're looking back and you have fuller knowledge. It's nobody's view is quite as clear, whether it's a judge setting bail or it's a prosecutor making a decision. Nobody's view is quite as clear earlier. We need to try to change that. We need to try to find ways to be better at making sure that there are as few errors as possible and that there is as much protection as possible, especially in the current environment women face. Jesse Bunch, Philadelphia Inquirer.
So this is also about how prosecutors handled King's prior cases. We're seeing a warrant was signed on King's second case, the kidnapping charge, on January 19th. And then King wouldn't be arrested and charged for that until 7 months later. But in February, King would have had to appear in court for that first assault case from December. So I'm asking, why wasn't King taken into custody in February at the CJC if he had that open warrant out for him for the kidnapping charge?
I have to admit, I lost track somewhere in the middle there, and I don't say that to be in any way dismissive. Can you just say that again, please, so I can make sure that Ashley and I hear your points?
So for King's case in February, for the charges from December, in between then, there was a second case open against him, the kidnapping charges from January. So there would have been an open warrant when he appeared in court in February for a different case, at least in my understanding. So we're just wondering why then was he not arrested and charged until April?
Let me see if I can help you with that.
So what I was just sharing with the DA was, in front of me, I don't have the date that warrant was actually dropped against Mr. King. I don't know if you have that or if you're just assuming that there was a warrant at the time, because I know he wasn't arrested until closer to April, and I believe the warrant was closer to that, but again, I don't have the date that that warrant came through, meaning I can't stand here and say that that warrant was active at the time he appeared. I don't have that in front of me.
We saw January 19th.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't have it in front of me. You know, in terms of when the warrant came through, I don't know.
Mr. President, 4 years ago, when you were running for re-election, your office failed to prosecute the domestic abuser and eventual murderer of a Hispanic mother, Gladys Oriana.
Mr. Cipriano, questions are about this press conference, not about your wandering view of the planet. Do you have a question that goes to the subject matter here?
And here we are 4 years later, and you and your inexperienced team of, quote, superstars that you repeatedly bragged about, comparing them to Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
By their incompetence, inexperience, or ideology blows of your rhetoric are directly responsible for the death of a promising black female, Kada Scott. How many domestic violence murders does the city have to endure, sir? How many more grieving families will have to go through the same type of tragedy before you admit you're a failed civil rights lawyer, not a prosecutor?
Sir, putting aside your wildly disrespectful approach to what's happening here, your complete absence of kindness and compassion, which is exactly what is contained in this request from the family, putting that aside, I would bring you back to this. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've got a second question, sir. You took 5 from CBS. Where you go? Hey, Larry, did you have to wake up at 3:30? You said some of these bail magistrates don't want to be woken up at 3:37 in the afternoon. Who'd you have to wake up?
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind, I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, like I know Kada. And he's like, oh yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, like she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about like, the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and this was before Kada went missing. And we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple of days after that, my best friend calls me and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh yeah, like he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh yeah, like he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on. So I'm not knowing that Kada is missing until my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm and I call Keon and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing, like that girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple of days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article, and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone, and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple of days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in, and I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. Like I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone, and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah. Now, I can see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that. So then a couple of days later after that, I get sent a link on Instagram. And the link was basically my best friend going live, just talking about the situation, saying how I was weird for not going to the cops. And people in the comments were just coming up with their own narratives about the story. And it just got way out of hand and it just spiraled. So you can see somebody sent me the link of the live, and still to this day, I have not watched the full entire live. Then people just started asking, who is Gabby? What's the connection? And, she told people that I was in Maryland for school, and it was just a whole entire thing. So, of course, I was angry and I was confused because what is going on? So I text her, I tell her that, that was weird. And yeah. Then I started seeing posts of people saying that they think that I set Kada up and that why wouldn't I go to the cops and that I was just suspicious and all of this stuff. And this was never the case. So I do end up contacting the authorities after I seen people just making up crazy stuff about me and the situation. They cut me off. They tell me that they already know what's going on, that they have a close eye on the social media. And they also tell me that my friend did come forth with the information, and they told her that there was nothing that they can do, that the information that she bought them was useless information because they already had Keon in custody, and it was just nothing for them to do with this information. They told me to contact them only if I had anything that could lead to finding Kada, because that is their main priority. Now, I do believe that the person in the live was just kind of taking what I told her and running with it and just spicing it up to make it seem like something that it wasn't for, I don't know, maybe views. People were saying that, she was walking around and showing what stores Kada would go to, where she would walk her dog, and just stuff like that. I also had one of our mutual friends come to me, and he told me that she told him that we knew Kada our whole lives and we grew up with her, which wasn't the case because we grew up with her little sister. Now, I do think that the person in the live was taking what I told them and kind of just running with it and spicing it up to make it seem like it was way bigger than what it was. And I basically think this because I had a mutual friend that came to me and said that she came to them and told them that we knew Kada our whole life and that we grew up with Kada, when that wasn't the case. We grew up with her little sister. My prayers go out to Kada and her family, and I hope that she can make a safer. So I'm going to be addressing some of y'all's comments. So people are saying first it was Keon, now it's Elliot. Which one is it? Keon is the name that y'all know him as. That's the name that's on the news. Me and my friends, we called him Elliot. People around us knew that this is what we would refer to him as. I have many people that can vouch for me. Now, people are saying that I'm only coming out and speaking about this now because they found remains, which is not true. I was actually going to post this yesterday. I was in the middle of recording the video yesterday when the news came out that they found remains. I thought that it would be insensitive to post that because the news was just coming out. It was still fresh. Now, the reason that I started addressing the comments wasn't because I felt guilty or because I felt like I had a part to play in this. I started addressing comments because people on TikTok started adding their own narratives and just saying things that were completely untrue. People were saying that we were on the phone for 2 minutes, and what were we talking about within those 2 minutes? Now, I did mention in the video that I was in my friend's dorm. The music was really loud. It was people talking. We were on the phone. I'm like, yeah, hello, can you hear me? He's just like, hello, can you hear me? Hello. So within a minute of our conversation, it just was us trying to hear each other. Once I finally got out the room and got somewhere quiet, I was asking him if he could hear me. He still couldn't hear me. And I realized it was because I had my AirPods in. So once I took out my AirPods, that's when he heard me. And that's when I told him that the girl Kada was missing. And then after that, that's when the phone hung up. He never once told me not to tell anybody that he asked about Kada. I called him. I told him that Kada was missing. He said, what? It went silent, and then the phone hung up. Now, people are saying that I should have been went to the cops and that I was protecting Keon, which is not true. You guys have to keep in mind that this was my actual friend. I had no thoughts whatsoever that he could have been capable of anything like this. When I called him and told him that Kada was missing, my thoughts were just like, bro, this is crazy. Like, you know, that girl that you just asked about, like, she's missing. Like, what a coincidence. I never once thought that he did something to harm this girl. People are asking, you know, why did I turn my comments off? And I'm not used to having to come on the internet and, you know, just talk. Before I can even come out and defend my name, people were bashing me. They were sending me death threats. They were saying that, you know, I was involved and I set this girl up. And I'm not used to just being bombarded by, you know, comments and messages and stuff like that. So I kind of just had to take a step back and just evaluate. But I am open to comments. I'm open to addressing your comments and y'all's concerns. I can understand that this is a serious situation and, you know, people will have questions, and I'm going to try to answer every last question that you guys have. So here, somebody asked Elliot from Keon. And as I addressed before, Keon is the name that is on the news. Keon is the name that you guys know him as. Me and my friends and the people around me, we called him Elliot, and people knew that this is what we would refer to him as. So this comment says, now I want to clear things up because they found remains behind the school. I recorded that video yesterday, and in the middle of me recording that video, that's when the news came out that they found remains behind the school. So in my head, I was just thinking it would be very insensitive for me to post that video right when they said that they found remains. So either way, if I posted it yesterday, people were just going to be like, oh, you're only posting this because they found remains. So I felt as though it was best for me just to post it the next morning. So this comment says that the call was 2 minutes and he only said what? As I said before, I was in my friend's dorm. It was a lot going on. He couldn't hear me. I had to go somewhere quiet for him to hear me. This took about a minute and like 20 seconds overall. Once he finally heard me and I finally told him that, you know, the girl Kada is missing, that's when he said what? And then that's when the call hung up. So I did see the aunt's video, and my response to that is, you simply just can't believe everything that you see online, okay? She was just picking apart the untrue things that people were saying about me on the internet and just making her own narrative of what she thinks that the story was. People are saying that I was jealous of Kada, which is not true. I do realize that Kada was a very, very pretty girl, but I was not jealous of her. I didn't really even know her personally for me to be jealous towards her. If you know me personally, you know that I am a girl's girl and I do not have a jealous bone in my body. So people are saying that I felt as though I couldn't go to the authorities about the situation because they had already locked him up. Now, I did eventually go to the authorities about the information, and they told me that the information that I bought them was useless, that they couldn't use the information because it wouldn't help to lead finding Kada. And also because he was already in police custody, so there was nothing that they could do with my information. They also told me that days before, my friend did come in with the information, and they told her the exact same thing, that they cannot do anything with the information due to the fact that he is already in police custody and that this information would not lead to finding Kada. Yes, like I said, I didn't call the cops because I'm not a cop caller, and that's just how I grew up, okay? People always would tell me, you know, you don't call the cops. Also, like I stated previously, Keon was already in police custody. The information that I had would ultimately lead to nothing.
she called her name and she said, help. She said, Kada!
Yeah.
Help. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I was like, what to believe? Like,
I don't know, but I think that voice was spiritual because it was like it was light.
It could have been
everything was spiritual.
Right.
Again, everything was spiritual.
Right.
He said he was moving his car.
Everything was spiritual. Everything. From the help to the smell to the maggots to the fresh dirt to the left side, and they found her on the left side just a few feet apart.
Right. Yes, sir.
Everything was spiritual.
Yes, sir.
When they said a psych, he said they were just like, hey, think about it.
He backs in. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much.
That's
my problem. She do be pinpoint. This ain't the first case. She do be fucked right. I ain't gonna hold you on that one down.
People out here searching.
She the one that helped them find them 2 boys out the water. She know what the fuck she's talking about.
Oh, she found some other boys too?
Yeah, Quaddy and Asara. They got found in the water. And we was looking for them for 30 fucking days.
Right.
And they told them they was in that water. They wouldn't go in there. We start making reports and lying and saying we seen people jump in there and shit like that so they can go in there. They didn't. They waited till they washed up. One of them washed up 12 days later. The other one washed up 21 days later. She told them the murals on the wall. She told them something was holding her son. She told them detail that the cops didn't pay no fucking attention to until them boys washed up. It was still one person alive that went missing with them that night that came to her house with all his belongings and all that stuff. Like the car, they jumped out the car on Lincoln Drive and ran. So they was getting chased by state troopers. They were saying they didn't chase them when they did. If you see a fucking abandoned car, you chasing people, they jump out the car and run. Then you got a car on fucking Lincoln Drive where people can't get through.
Right.
Y'all knew y'all chased them.
Right.
So yeah, she ain't no bullshit.
Yeah,
she right. She right. She led them here the first time when they found her shit. You talking about?
And yo, for real, you might as well say.
Right.
I mean, with her live yesterday, she led everybody here today.
She led everybody here today too.
Yeah.
She solved their case for them.
Right.
They could say whatever they want.
Right.
Oh, that ain't the real niece, nothing. She just did their whole fucking job.
Whole job.
Everything.
And she put work in.
Yeah.
She was all up.
Down to the fucking mace that they found last night.
Oh.
Like, please.
And why her
She right.
not here today?
We all
her family not outside right now.
Because that's traumatizing.
It's traumatic. Way too traumatic.
I don't want to find my fucking baby in the woods.
We are outside looking at.
Now Diaz was out here looking with us and stuff. They wasn't even searching for them, y'all. On some real shit. The 2 boys, they wasn't searching for them at all.
Medical examiner's office, when they figure out how
They
long
probably
she's been
just
in
gonna
that
wait
grill,
until they see the
when they figure out
results.
how
You
long
know what I
she's
mean?
been
They probably all gathered
Okay, so
around with each other.
Like, they're going to determine everything. Yeah, those people heard.
That's a hurtful experience, man.
The coroner's office going to tell us she been there for a week. We going to know that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We going to know when the information come out. We out here spectating. We are on the outside looking in. We don't have all things.
No.
We don't.
The murderer
We know some
brother
shit. We don't know all of it.
is the maintenance guy for this building.
Oh,
And they seen him out here the first day we was out.
Facts.
So they let his fucking brother
But do we have all the
tamper
details?
with fucking evidence and shit.
Yo, ain't that what you said? You said, yo, I think it's a second person. Remember you said that?
Yeah. And his fucking brother lived on Dorham Street. His fucking the boy
so he
mom
close
house
by.
right around the corner from here. And he supposed to be the building manager. The fuck you talking about? How is it? He the building manager?
He the building manager. Yeah.
They said she was in dirt.
And he was out here. And people was like, yo, you look like the brother. And he's like, I don't look like that ugly ass nigga. Stop fucking playing with me. The cop said they confirmed that he's security. He got in a white Jeep Cherokee, made a U-turn and fucking left.
Crazy.
It's just they're giving you things. They're giving us a turn to
Fucking building. Y'all got his brother locked up. He can do whatever. Anytime anybody not out here.
I don't know.
Fuck y'all talking about. Get the fuck out of here.
Could have gave him the go.
That's why
Put it right back out.
I mean, that's what. Yeah, that's all the plan.
Wow.
But still, they don't do shit. It's another little girl that been missing since the 20th. That's what I was out here yelling earlier. School let her out of school early to stop her from fighting. Put her on the 57 bus. She never made it home. 16 years old.
Wow.
They found her phone an hour away at an apartment complex. They not even. I ain't even see no fucking symptoms for that little girl. She's 16. Kada is 20 something.
Right.
Like, and she was missing the 28th. A whole week before Kada.
Wow.
Like, they not saying shit about her. They only doing what's getting national attention.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I was like, this national
I was
attention.
out here yelling like we got 10 missing kids in Philadelphia.
But yo, they gonna end up killing that bull in jail. Like you said, it's national. The guard's gonna get his ass, throw him in the hole. You feel me? Or the inmates gonna get
Keon just got him the best motherfucking lawyer it is in Philadelphia. They got him shot for jump. Yeah, bro. That's why I said, all right, yo, we should chill because we tampering with evidence. Shaka gonna get his ass right. Them DAs be so nervous when Shaka be in that courtroom, they be laughing. Like they can't even get their story straight. That Shaka be giving it to them. Real.
Just not thy compassion, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Summer and winter, in springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, they join with all nature in manifold witness to God's great faithfulness, God's mercy and love. Great is thy faithfulness. Great.
Hello everyone, my name is Kada and I'm here with Mr. Keon.